This is TWiT.
Weibo survey asking users to choose between WeChat and iPhones. 1.2 million responses. 95% said we'd rather give up the iPhone than give up WeChat. Now, this isn't because Apple's thinking of getting out of China or banning WeChat. It has to do with the White House, which has already banned, well, I don't know, banned. They've, along with restricting TikTok, WeChat was also in that executive order. I think they now, the new time, it was 45 days. They now have 90 days to find a U.S. buyer, or all their funds will be frozen.
And Larry Ellison is all up in it now.
Oracle wants it.
Oracle talk.
Oracle wants it.
I mean, so much respect for making the world's worst database, but just
yeah, and then making a lot of money on it. So Apple may be in that position because if you can't, you wouldn't be able to be on the iPhone, I guess. And so this is the Bloomberg story. Felix Tam and Xiyin Chen, Apple's $44 billion China market. I didn't realize China was that important. Threatened by this WeChat ban because the Chinese customers who use WeChat would rather switch than fight.
Yeah, the Chinese market represents multiple percentage points of Apple's revenue, so this is a really super big deal.
If Apple were forced to remove WeChat from the App Store, analysts say annual shipments of the iPhone would decline 25 to 30%.
That's all? I mean, WeChat is the software layer, is the operating system layer effectively for most of China.
Yeah.
95% of participants said they'd rather switch devices than give up WeChat. I hear this all the time from people who use WeChat. A lot of them have family in China. It's the only way they talk to them. They say, you don't understand. WeChat's not just like Facebook Messenger. It's the ecosystem. It's everything.
It's a platform. You pay for things with WeChat. You travel with WeChat. You do your banking with WeChat. It is every time I see YouTube videos of people living in China, the only time I ever see the only transaction platform for any sort of transaction between two human beings in China is through WeChat. So I'm with Rene. It's amazing that there's anybody who said that they'd be willing to give up. I mean, they'd be willing to give up WeChat in order to keep their iPhones. And that's kind of remarkable.
And listen to this. They interviewed a Shanghai-based commodities trader who was thinking about replacing his Huawei handset with an iPhone, which he's stopped now. He said, I'm worried that WeChat will be banned on the iPhone. That would affect my work to a large extent. 90% of my clients and colleagues communicate via WeChat. But he's also worried about switching to, he's thinking about Samsung, but then he realizes because it's Android, he's worried that this ban will also affect Android and that he won't be able to run WeChat on an Android device. It's going to be good for the Chinese handset makers like Huawei, which has,
No, they should be okay because remember that Google doesn't have an app store in China.
Right.
So all the handsets that use Android are using the open version of Android. People will still continue to use Android phones. They just won't be able to. They will just continue to not have any sort of any money going to Google for that. Yeah. Is it an area of concern that there's so much of what we used to think as an open and free internet is now becoming really compartmentalized and contained by government and by all the conflicts that we're having. Already there are classes of Huawei phones that you can't get anywhere else except for China or you can't get in the United States because of the ban against importing and doing business with Huawei products. There are a whole bunch of other platforms that you can't get in the United States chiefly because of trade bans and the ability to have a powerful market that sort of lives in and of itself. It's kind of disappointing, and it also makes me wonder how worried Apple is that they're going to continue to be able to do business in China, whether they think that it's separate from whatever discussions they're having about their responsibilities as a corporate world entity. Will they even be able to continue to operate in China in a way that makes sense for Apple anymore?
It's not just Apple. In fact, according to the Wall Street Journal, several big American companies got on a call with the White House before this ban, begging them not to ban WeChat. Apple, Ford, Walmart, Walt Disney, and others trying to persuade the president not to do this because it would hurt their business. Procter & Gamble, Intel, MetLife, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, UPS, Merck, Cargill. This is the blue chip American companies, and obviously they couldn't persuade Trump to back down.
None of them own golf courses. Sadly, if they'd owned golf courses, we would just be fine now. It's humor, folks. It's humor.
He didn't back down on Huawei either. The stakes were a lot bigger with Huawei, but at this point,
I think he has more support for Huawei because it's you know, he's got the Commerce Department, even in the Obama administration, concerned Department of Defense, because Huawei is a network infrastructure company. I think that's the big concern there.
And other world governments are also involved in that, where we don't want Huawei to be building out.
This is unilateral. This TikTok WeChat thing is completely unilateral. That's completely coming out of the White House.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think last week I was talking about how there seems to be a lack of evidence so far that TikTok is doing anything unusual in terms of surveillance. Since then, there has been there has been a report about it taking part in practices, at least on the Android platform, that violate Android's own privacy and security regulations. It remains to be seen whether, kind of like what we talked about last week, is this because they are acting as an espionage tool for a foreign government, or is this because they are a social media network that wants to grab as much data as they possibly can just on principle? Augustus Gloop falling into the chocolate river. This is any social media app that you put onto a phone.